Hi, my name is Kristin Hott, and I'm at the Bazaar Market in the adjacent parking lot of Charm School Social Club, the ice cream shop on West Broad. Today is National Ice Cream Day, but it is also day 12 of Richmond Public Library's 100 Days RVA Reads, a program promoting the Great American Read by PBS and WCVE, our local station. Today I'm going to be reading a selection, part of the first chapter from Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. And the reason I chose this book from the list is because when I was 20 years old, I spent a semester in Valencia, Spain, and took a course called Don Quixote de la Mancha, where we read the book in Spanish and discussed it in Spanish, and I have all my notes written in Spanish, and it was just a phenomenal semester for me, and it's like a time capsule, the actual book that I still have. One of the most hilarious books I think you'll find. So we'll get you started. If you've never read it before, hopefully you'll be intrigued to keep going because we're starting with chapter 1. We're ready. All right, Don Quixote de la Mancha. In a village of La Mancha, the name of which I have no desire to call to mind, there lived not long since one of those gentlemen that keep a lance in the lance rack, an old buckler, a lean hack, and a greyhound for coursing. An olla of rather more beef than mutton, a salad on most nights, scraps on Saturdays, lentils on Fridays, and a pigeon or so extra on Sundays, made away with 3/4 of his income. The rest of it went in a doublet of fine cloth and velvet breeches and shoes to match for holidays, while on weekdays he made a brave figure in his best homespun. He had in his house a housekeeper past 40, a niece under 20, and a lad for the field and marketplace, who used to saddle the hack as well as handle the bill hook. The age of this gentleman of ours was bordering on 50. He was a hardy habit, spare, gaunt-featured, who used to saddle the hack as a very early riser and a great sportsman. They will have it his surname was Quijada or Quesada, for here there is some difference of opinion among the authors who write on the subject, although from reasonable conjectures it seems plain that he was called Quejana. This, however, is but little of importance to our tale. It will be enough to not stray a hair's breadth from the truth in the telling of it. You must know, then, that the above-named gentleman, whenever he was at leisure, which was mostly all year round, gave himself up to reading books of chivalry with such ardor and avidity that he almost entirely neglected the pursuit of his field sports, and even the management of his property. And to such a pitch did his eagerness and infatuation go that he sold many an acre of tillage land to buy books of chivalry to read, and brought home as many of them as he could get. But of all, there was none he liked so well as those of the famous Feliciano de Silva's composition, for the lucidity of style and complicated conceits were as pearls in his sight, particularly when in his reading he came upon courtships with cartels, where he found such passages like, "The reason of the unreason with my reason is afflicted, so weakens my reason, that with reason I murmur at your beauty." Or again, "The high heavens, that of your divinity divinely fortify you with the stars, render you deserving of the desert your greatest deserves." Over conceits of this sort the poor gentleman lost his wits, and used to lie awake, striving to understand them and worm the meaning out of them. What Aristotle himself could not have made out or extracted, had he come to life again for that special purpose. He was not at all easy about the wounds which Don Belianis gave and took, because it seemed to him that, great as were the surgeon who had cured him, he must have had a face and body covered all over with seams and scars. He commended, however, the author's way of ending his book with the promise of that interminable adventure, and many a time he was tempted to take up his pen and finish it properly as is there proposed, which no doubt he would have done, and made a successful piece of work of it too, had not greater and more absorbing thoughts presented him. Many an argument did he have with the curate of his village, a learned man and a graduate of Sigüenza, as to which had been the better knight, Palmerin of England or Amadis de Gaul. Master Nicholas, the village barber, however, used to say that neither of them came up to the knight of Phoebus, and that if there was any that could compare with him, it was Don Galaor, the brother of Amadis de Gaul, because he had a spirit that was equal to every occasion, and was no finikin knight, nor lachrymose like his brother, while in the manner of valor he was not a whit behind him. In short, he became so absorbed in his books that he spent his nights from sunset to sunrise, and his days from dawn to dark, poring over them. And what with little sleep, and much reading, his brains got so dry that he lost his wits. His fancy grew full of what he used to read about in books: enchantments, quarrels, battles, challenges, wounds, wooings, loves, agonies, and all sorts of impossible nonsense. And it so possessed his mind that the whole fabric of invention and fancy he read of was true. That to him, no history in the world had more reality in it. He used to say that Cid Roy Diaz was a very good knight, but that he was not to be compared with the knight of the burning sword, who had one backstroke cut in half two fierce and monstrous giants. He thought more of Bernardo del Carpio, because at Roncesvalles he slew Roland in spite of the enchantments, availing himself of the artifice of Hercules when he strangled Auntias, the son of Terra, in his arms. He approved highly of the giant Morgante, because, although of the giant breed which is always arrogant and ill-conditioned, he alone was affable and well-bred. But above all, he admired Reinaldos of Montalban, especially when he saw him sallying forth from his castle and robbing everyone he met, and when beyond the seas he stole the image of Mahomet, which, as his history says, was entirely of gold. To have a bout of kicking at that traitor of Ganelon, he would have given his housekeeper and his niece into the bargain. In short, his wits being quite gone, he hit upon the strangest notion that ever a madman in this world hit upon, and that was that he fancies it was his right and requisite, as well as for the support of his own honor, as for the service of his country, that he should make an errant knight-errant of himself, roaming the world o'er in full armor and on horseback in quest of adventures, and putting into practice himself all that he had read of as being the usual practices of knights-errant, which in this issue he was to reap eternal renown and fame. Already the poor man saw himself crowned by the might of his arm emperor of Trebizond at least. And so, led away by the intense enjoyment he found in these pleasant fancies, he set himself forthwith to put his scheme into execution. Oh, so I hope you'll keep reading. That was just part of chapter 1. And if you like what you heard, all 100 books on the list of books are available in your public library. And if you would like to be a reader, all you have to do is visit rvalibrary.org/100 days. And you can join the group on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Richmond Public Library 100 Days. Richmond, let's read.